Let me tell you a story. There was a woman, let's call her Tasha. Tasha wanted to open a small bakery in a neighborhood that already had 2 bakeries. People said, "Why would you do that? You don't have the capital, the education, or the pedigree." They laughed at her business plan drawn on a receipt. She could have folded. Instead, she borrowed a hand, made down oven, practiced her recipes at night, and sold cupcakes at church events. When she tripped, the critics said, "Told you so." When she doubled down, she learned better recipes, packaging, and prices. 2 years later, a regional food critic walked into that little shop, wrote a glowing piece, and suddenly the same people who laughed were standing in line 2 hours to buy what she was selling. They watched. And when they watched, they didn't laugh. They clapped. They paid, and they apologized with their wallets. God made them watch. That's how the story goes more times than you think. When people laugh at your dream, don't let that sound be the engine that stalls you. Let it be the coal that fires up your mission. Mockery is not a verdict, it's a signal. It tells you 2 things. First, you're aiming beyond the comfortable imagination of the room. And second, you're about to be tested. Tests are not punishments, they're measurements. They measure how badly you want it. The folks who clap at your mediocrity don't challenge you. The ones who laugh force you to sharpen. Use that. Let the chuckles be your reminder that your idea is big enough to make people nervous. Big dreams scare small minds. That's okay. You don't need everyone in the stands to understand the playbook. You only need enough faith to run the road. Now, mockery only has power if you hand it power. If you start explaining, defending, or shrinking to fit their comfort, you give the laughter control. Instead, respond with work. Silence the noise with results. Do the thing they said you couldn't, and let the outcome do the talking. When you keep showing up day after day, the laughter turns to curiosity, curiosity turns to interest, and interest turns to opportunity. There's a progression. Mockery is often the first chapter of that story. Your job is to keep writing the next chapters with stubborn consistency. Practical moves: when somebody laughs, don't engage in debate, engage in discipline. Write down 1 small action you will take today that moves your dream forward. 5 minutes of practice, 1 cold email, 1 extra revision. Do it. Over time, those small actions compound into undeniable proof. The person who laughed will watch you later and think the result was an accident, but you and God know it was the accumulation of quiet work. That's the beauty of using mockery as fuel. It keeps your work honest. It makes you go back and practice the part you flubbed. It makes you revise the pitch that sounded thin. It sharpens your edge. Another part of flipping mockery into momentum is choosing your circle. Find 2 or 3 people who will speak truth and give hard help, not just applause. People who will test your assumptions and hand you a towel when you sweat. That small tribe becomes your laboratory. Let the crowd laugh. You don't need everybody. You need the right ones who will help you get better. Also, practice humility with hunger. Don't use being laughed at as a badge of victimhood or a license to belittle others when you win. Let the sting of mockery make you kinder and more disciplined, not bitter. The most satisfying comeback is the one that arrives without the mess of revenge. Let your excellence be your argument. Let your endurance be your reply. Finally, remember that mockery often precedes visibility. The bigger your vision, the louder the critics at first. That's normal. But visibility also means opportunity. The same eyes that rolled can become the same eyes that invest, share, or hire. Turn the temporary shame into long-term strategy. Keep going. Keep building. When the crowd that laughed has to stand and watch, you won't be surprised. You'll be ready. When God puts a vision in your heart, sometimes the first response you'll get from people is laughter. They don't see what you see. They can't feel what you feel. They weren't given the same blueprint you were handed. And here's the thing, God doesn't require them to see it. He gave it to you. That's why their laughter doesn't disqualify you. It only exposes their lack of faith. Too many people abandon their destiny because they mistake other people's disbelief for God's rejection. Let me tell you something. If God assigned it to you, nobody's laughter can cancel it. Their mockery is just background noise to a promise that's already been stamped in heaven. Faith means trusting that even when nobody claps for you, God is still working behind the scenes. Think about it, every champion, every innovator, every person who has broken through to another level had a season where nobody believed in them. Some were laughed out of rooms, some were rejected, some were even told they were foolish. But the common thread, they didn't quit. They didn't hand their faith over to somebody else's doubts. They kept moving, trusting that if God said yes, the laughter couldn't turn it into a no. Now here's the truth most people miss. Those same people who laughed will be forced to witness what God is doing in your life. God doesn't just elevate you for your sake, He elevates you as a testimony. Your story becomes proof of His power. He will put you in rooms you never imagined. And the very folks who doubted you will have to watch it unfold. That's why your faith must remain anchored in Him, not in human validation. Human applause is unstable. One day it's there, the next day it's gone. But God's promise, that's unshakable. And while you're walking through this process, you've got to keep reminding yourself the assignment came from God. If it was man-made, then maybe man's opinion could cancel it. But since it came from above, the only thing that can stop it is you quitting. Don't let their laughter shake your obedience. Don't let their disbelief water down your effort. Stay consistent, stay faithful, and let God unfold the results in His timing. You may not see it yet, but every step you take in obedience is stacking the evidence. Every day you choose to push forward instead of bowing to fear, heaven takes note. And when the time is right, that evidence will speak louder than any mockery ever could. Those who laughed won't just watch you win. They'll realize they were witnessing God's hand at work the entire time. Success is the loudest clapback there is. And the beautiful thing about it is it requires no petty explanations, only results. When folks laugh, when they snicker, when they roll their eyes, you can spend all day trying to convince them you're right, or you can go to work and let the outcome do the talking. Results are unarguable. They don't need defense lawyers or long-winded posts. Results show up in bank accounts, in lines at your door, in the number of people whose lives you changed. That's the power of winning. It replaces noise with evidence. Think about anyone you admire. Did they win by arguing louder or by building better? The answer is always the same. You want to shut down the critics. Build something so solid they can't ignore it. Let your product be so good they stop talking about you and start buying what you sell. Let your character be so steady that when the applause comes, people don't remember the jokes. They remember the work you did while everyone else was comfortable. Success is a microphone that flips the narrative without you having to stoop to bitterness. Here's how you make success your clapback practically. First, define the result you want in crisp terms. Vague dreams are easy for haters to toss aside. Say, I want 1,000 subscribers in 90 days, or I want 3 steady clients by next quarter. Specific goals create pressure that's useful. Then break that goal into daily actions. Not grand gestures, but concrete steps you can measure. Show up to the small things. The crowd won't see your discipline at 5 a.m., but the results will show up at 5 p.m. Second, treat criticism like a weather report, not a roadmap. Weather tells you whether to carry an umbrella. It doesn't tell you where to build your house. So check the forecast. If the feedback has truth, adjust. If it's just noise, ignore it and keep building. That discernment saves your energy for productive moves. Third, be strategic about visibility. Put your work where people can find it: a consistent channel, a reliable product, a repeatable service. Visibility plus quality equals momentum. When you consistently deliver value in visible ways, envy loses its volume because the market speaks louder than the rumor mill. Don't confuse using success as a response with using it as revenge. The motive matters. If your primary aim is to humble someone, you risk becoming cruel when you should be compassionate. Let your comeback be rooted in purpose, not petty triumph. Success that comes from integrity lasts. Success that comes from spite collapses under pressure. When you win with kindness, the world not only watches, it learns. Also, prepare for the responsibility that comes with being the clapback. Winning invites new eyes and new tests. People will expect more from you. So double down on stewardship. Manage your wins with humility. Hire people who remind you of the truth when fame gets loud, and reinvest part of your victory into the people and systems that helped you climb. That's how a comeback becomes a legacy and a clapback becomes a calling. Finally, remember, results don't erase the past, they reframe it. The laughter you heard becomes the prologue to a testimony others will quote. Your job is not to prove them wrong emotionally, it's to prove them wrong practically. Do the work, measure the progress, adjust the plan, and keep faith when the applause is absent. So when they laugh, let them. You've got something better: a plan, persistence, and a goal. Win with excellence, and the room that mocked you will end up standing for you. That's the loudest clapback there is. Delay is not denial. And when you learn that, waiting stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like preparation. Too many folks mistake a stalled season for a stopped season. A closed door makes them curl up like it's the end of the story, when in reality it's the chapter that teaches the lessons you'll need for the rest of the book. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in spring. If the harvest came the next day, he'd never learn patience, weather sense, or how to store grain for winter. The delay forces you to develop capacity. It gives you time to build the muscle you'll need to carry the blessing. Waiting stretches humility, sharpens skill, and forces clarity about what you actually want. That's why the delay is often more important than the arrival. Because arrival without preparation makes you fragile, vulnerable to failure, pride, and bad decisions. When doors stay closed, don't assume God's absent. Assume God is at work in the hidden room, doing the unglamorous work of shaping you. Use the pause. Get better. Study the craft, build the team, fix the weak spots. The person who treats a delay like a workshop wins the day the door opens, because they're ready to steward what comes through it. Meanwhile, the person who treats delay like a death sentence will be tempted into shortcuts, bad partnerships, and compromises that look like wins for a second and disasters later. Don't trade readiness for rush. There's a practical discipline to navigating season of waiting. First, map the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Be brutally honest. What skills, relationships, or finances are missing? Then make a plan to close one of those gaps each week. Micro progress in the waiting season compounds fast. Second, protect your heart from comparison and bitterness. It's easy to look at someone else's highlight reel and think the universe is unfair, but their timing is not your timetable. Your delay may be the very reason your later success is sustainable. Third, steward your influence when you're unseen. Show up generous, kind, and consistent. People notice character in the dark spots long before the spotlight finds you. Also understand that delays are often divine protection. The wrong job, relationship, or deal accepted too soon can derail a destiny. A closed door might be God saying, "Not yet. I'm redirecting you away from what would injure you." Be grateful for the gates that shut you out, because somewhere a gate is being opened that you can actually live in. Don't try to pry open what's locked. Use your energy to prepare for the door that will fit you right. Finally, keep faith active while you wait. Faith that sits idle is not faith, it's denial. Faith with work is faith that moves. Pray, yes, but also practice. Fast, yes, but also learn. Hope, yes, but also hustle. When you combine faith with forward action, delays become training grounds and not tombstones. One day you'll look back and realize the pause was the plot twist that made the ending meaningful. Delay is not denial, it is development. Treat it like the opportunity it is. And when your moment comes, you won't just step through the door. You'll carry the house with you. Vindication is one of the sweetest rewards in life because it flips the script without you having to fight the battle yourself. When people laugh at you, doubt you, or call you crazy for chasing something bigger than what they can see, the human instinct is to want to argue back, to prove them wrong immediately. But that's not how God works. God doesn't need you to clap back. He doesn't need you to waste your energy in battles of words and validation. What he does is set the stage so that the very people who mocked you will one day have to sit front row and watch you shine. That's not revenge, it's revelation. It's God's way of saying, "I told you my child was chosen." Think about it, your success isn't just for you. It's also for those who need to witness the undeniable evidence of what happens when faith and hard work collide. When God elevates you, he doesn't do it in a corner. He does it in the open so nobody can deny it. The same mouths that laughed will speak your name differently. Not because you changed who you were to fit their approval, but because God changed your circumstances to match his promise. That's why you can't quit halfway through your journey. If you stop, they get the satisfaction of being right. But if you endure, if you keep pushing, God gets the glory and you get the victory. Vindication is also about patience. See, if you try to get it on your own terms, if you go chasing every critic and trying to silence them, you'll end up stuck in battles too small for your calling. Let them laugh. Let them talk. Let them count you out. Every laugh is just another log on the fire that fuels your persistence. Every insult is a reminder that you're not living for their applause anyway. You're living for purpose, and purpose never lies. Purpose always delivers, even if it takes time. And when the moment comes, it won't just feel good, it'll feel divine. Because you'll know it wasn't your charm, your connections, or even your hustle alone that put you there. It was God's hand. And when God sets you up, nobody can tear you down. That's the essence of vindication. It leaves no room for doubt. Those who laughed won't just stop laughing. They'll be forced to acknowledge the God that carried you. Some of them will even be inspired to believe for themselves. Your win becomes a testimony that changes other lives. So don't stress about the doubters. Don't waste time clapping back. Trust that every season of ridicule is a setup for a season of respect. The very audience that mocked your struggle will be required to witness your breakthrough. That's vindication. And when it comes from God, it's undeniable, unstoppable, and unforgettable. So listen, let the laughter be your fuel, not your fate. Keep working in the dark. Keep sharpening your craft and keep your heart clean. Don't spend your energy arguing with people who aren't willing to build. Spend it building the life you were called to live. When God moves, He'll do it in a way that leaves no room for doubt. The same mouths that laughed will be the ones watching you rise. And when they watch, don't gloat. Let your victory be grace in motion. Use what you gain to lift others out of the place where they're still being laughed at. Remember, your comeback is not about proving them wrong. It's about proving God right. Now stand up, get to work, and let them watch you win.